Polish heraldry is a branch of heraldry focused on studying the development of coats of arms in the lands of historical Poland, as well as specifically Polish traits of heraldry. The term is also used to refer to the Polish heraldic system, as opposed to systems used elsewhere, notably in Western Europe. As such, it is an integral part of the history of the szlachta, the nobility of Poland, due to the distinct manner in which feudal society evolved in Poland. The heraldic traditions of Poland differ significantly from those in German lands, France or the British Isles. History. Unlike the case of Western Europe, in Poland, the szlachta did not emerge exclusively from the feudal class of knights under chivalry, but stemmed in great part from an earlier Slavic local rulers, free warrior class and mercenaries. Rulers often hired these free warriors and mercenaries to form guard units, and eventually, in 11th century during the time of Casimir I the Restorer and the development of feudalism, armies that was paid by the prince were replaced by the knights that was paid in land. Much written evidence from the Middle Ages demonstrates how some elements of the Polish nobility did emerge from former Slavic rulers that were included in the ranks of the knightly class under the terms of chivalric law. As Polish clans show different origin, only part of the szlachta can be traced all the way back to the traditional old clan system based on kinship. The clans that could show such kinship belonged to a house, like House of Odrze. Later, when different lines of the house created different surnames after the properties, the house turned into a clan Odrze. If relation between clan members was still based on genealogical kinship, having common ancestor, other szlachta were not related and the unions were mostly voluntary and based on followership and brotherhood rather than kinship. Still being full members of the clan, creating clan politics like in Clan Ostoja or Clan Abdank, but forming heraldic clan. In the end, due to adpotions and other circumstances, all clans in Poland turned into heraldic clans. In the year 1244, Boleslaw, Duke of Masovia, identified members of the Knights clan as members of a genealogy. I received my good servitors from the land of Poland, and from the clan called Jelito, with my well-disposed knowledge and the cry, the Godlo, Nagadi, and I established them in the said land of mine, Masovia. The documentation regarding Raceabours and Albertstein is the earliest surviving of the use of the clan name and cry defining the honorable status of Polish knights. The names of knightly genealogy only came to be associated with heraldic devices later in the Middle Ages and in the early modern period. The Polish clan name and cry ritualized the ius militare, i.e. the power to command an army, and they had been used sometime before 1244 to define knightly status. According to Polish historian Tadeusz Mantufel, a Polish clan consisted of people related by blood and descending from a common ancestor, giving the Rod clan a highly developed sense of solidarity. The Starasta had judicial and military power over the Rod clan, although this power was often exercised with an assembly of elders. Strongholds called Grod were built where a unifying religious cult was powerful, where trials were conducted, and where clans gathered in the face of danger. The Opole was the territory occupied by a single tribe. Such clans often used signs that later, during the 12th and 13th century, become coat of arms of the house of the clan. The origin of those protokoła is controversial. Some, like Sulemirski, claim Sarmatian origin, and some, like Piekarzinski, claim that those signs are runes of dynastic tribal rulers. Heraldic symbols began to be used in Poland in the 13th century. The generic Polish term for a coat of arms, herb, dates from the early 15th century, originating as a translation of the Czech herb, which in turn came from the German herbe, heritage. under the Union of heraldry. The noble families of the Duchy of Lithuania were adopted en masse into the various Polish noble clans and began to use Polish coats of arms, particularly arities. Although the Polish heraldic system evolved under the influence of French and German heraldry, there are many notable differences. The most striking peculiarity of the system is that a coat of arms does not belong to a single family. A number of unrelated families, usually with a number of different family names, may use the same, undifferenced coat of arms, and each coat of arms has its own name. The total number of coats of arms in this system was relatively low. California, 200 in the late Middle Ages. The same can be also seen in Western Europe, when families of different surnames but sharing clan origin would use similar coats of arms. The fleur-de-lis of the many Capuchin families being perhaps the best-known example. One side effect of this unique arrangement was that it became customary to refer to noblemen by both the family name and the coat of arms name. For example, Jan Zamoyski herbu-Jelita means Jan Zamoyski of the Jelita coat of arms. For the 15th to 17th centuries, the formula seems to have been to copy the ancient Roman naming convention, pronomen, nomen gentile and cognomen, following the Renaissance fashion. So we have Jan Jelita Zamoyski, forming a double-barreled name. Later, the double-barreled name began to be joined with a hyphen, Jan Jelita Zamoyski. The Polish émigré of the 19th century sometimes used adaptations of the names according to the Western European style, becoming e.g. Baltazar Klosowski de Rola, Jean de Bloch, or Tamara de Lempicka. Some would also keep the Latin forms of the surnames, as Latin was the official language of the Kingdom of Poland. Hence the popularity of late medieval or early modern forms such as de Zamoysk Zamoyski. A single coat of arms could appear in slightly different versions, typically in different colors, depending on the custom of the family using it. Such variations are still considered as representing the same coat of arms. One of the most visually striking characteristics of Polish heraldry is the abundance of gules fields. Among the oldest coats of arms in Poland, nearly half use a red background, with blue coming in a distant second. Nowhere else in Europe is there seen such a strong bias towards a particular color scheme. It follows, however, the well-known heraldic custom of all Europe, of the vassals following the color scheme of their overlord, which found practical use on the battlefield. Other typical features used in Polish heraldry include horseshoes, arrows, Maltese crosses, scythes, stars and crestlets. There are also many purely geometrical shapes for which a separate set of heraldic terms was invented. It has been suggested that originally all Polish coats of arms were based on such abstract geometrical shapes, but most were gradually rationalized into horseshoes, arrows and so on. If this hypothesis is correct, it suggests in turn that Polish heraldry, also unlike Western European heraldry, may be at least partly derived from the tamgas, marks used by Eurasian nomads such as the Sarmatians, Avars and Mongols, to mark property. Evidence of the origins of the system was considered scanty, and the hypothesis has been criticized as being part of Sarmatism. However, recent DNA projects that concern Polish nobility proved that at least part of Polish nobility is of Sarmatian origin. A Polish coat of arms consists of shield, crest, helm and crown. Mantling became fashionable during the 18th and 19th centuries. Supporters, mottos and compartments normally do not appear, although certain individuals used them, especially in the final stages of the system's development, partly in response to French and German influence. Preserved medieval evidence shows Polish coats of arms with mantling and supporters. Shield Polish coats of arms are divided in the same way way as the Western counterparts. However, since coats of arms were originally granted to clans rather than to separate families, there was no need to join coats of arms into one when a new branch of a family was formed. Thus, Polish escutcheons are rarely parted. There are, however, a lot of preserved corded coats of arms. These would most often show the arms of the four grandparents of the bearer, or also the paternal great-grandmother in the fifth field if the male line coat of arms goes in the heart field. The tradition of differentiating between the coat of arms proper and a lozenge granted to women did not develop in Poland. Usually men inherited a coat of arms from the fathers, while women either inherited a coat from the mothers or adopted the arms of the husbands. The brisha was rarely used. All children would inherit the coat of arms of the father. Heart-shaped shields were mostly used in representations of the coats of arms of royalty. Following the union between Poland and Lithuania, and the creation of the elective monarchy, it became customary to place the coats of Poland and Lithuania diagonally, with the coat of arms of the specific monarch placed centrally on top. Research continues to find out what a heart-shaped shield is. Most likely, the coat of Poland was placed on the left-right diagonal and Lithuania on the right-left diagonal, as evidenced in the shield at the top of this page. The specific monarch crest then being placed in the heart position. Tinctures. In addition to these 7 basic tinctures, which were standard in English heraldry and elsewhere in Western Europe, many more tinctures were used in Poland and Lithuania, including grey, steel, brunette, weasel and carnation.